Michelle, Candace is hosting thing too. Candace will have to let you know.
Okay, so I see that we are live now, and so we will begin today's meeting. And actually, before we start, we do need one more counselor. Becky, do you know if Helen is joining this morning?
I have not heard from her. I'm looking at emails now. I didn't receive no email from her saying she wasn't coming.
Okay, there we go. We have Audrey and we have Counselor Miller. Perfect. So we now have quorum. So I'd like to bring to you, bring the meeting for January 18th, the general finance meeting to order. And
Michelle, where's Mark?
Mark has indicated that he has a family matter he has to deal with, so he's emailed us all this morning, and I will be chairing this morning's meeting. And just before we get into the meeting, there are some, I heard from community, we all heard from community, there are individuals who you will not see counselors' faces because either they don't have strong enough Wi-Fi in the area they're in, so they opt to either be on the phone or turn their screen off to be able to listen to the and contribute to the meeting. So that's where we're at.
Michelle?
Go ahead, Helen.
I'm on my phone.
Yeah, but Counselor Johnson isn't, and Counselor
No,
Hill.
what I'm saying is I'm on my phone. You guys can see me.
Yep.
So why can we not see Carrie and Melba if they're on their phones?
I would assume that they have.
Somebody needs to show them how to do it, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. So and that will get done for the next meeting. So
yeah, because I did get complaints I've been getting complaints from people every time the council comes on because they can't see anybody.
Right.
Everybody.
So if you have the capability to turn your video cam on, please do so. But I completely understand that Wi-Fi can be an issue, and it happens for me as well. So there will be times that I turn it off to hopefully get some data. Okay, so let's call convene January 18th general finance meeting. Our first item on the agenda is identification of media. I do see Victoria. Victoria, you are with
the Turtle Island News.
Thank you. And is there any other individuals on from media? Hearing none, we'll move right along. Changes, deletions, and adoption of today's agenda. Do we have any omissions, additions? Hearing none, can I have somebody adopt today's agenda? Moved by Councillor Paulus Bomberry. Second by
Melba.
Councillor Thomas. Thank you. The agenda is moved, and actually we do have another regret. So Chief Hill has sent his regrets. Same with Councillor Wright has sent his regrets. Okay, so let's carry along. We have delegations. I see Deneen will be presenting, is my understanding, with respects to the outdoor learning that the federal schools are undertaking. So Deneen, I will pass it along to you. You can introduce your team and we'll go from there. Welcome.
Hey, good morning, everyone. So there are a few people joining this morning who will be contributing to the presentation. So myself, I'm the vice principal at Jamison J.C. Hill School. We have Matt King. Matt, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Matt King. I'm the outdoor project manager for the Six Nations Schools, teacher at MWC General.
And we have Dave.
Hi, I'm Dave Deagle. I'm Dave Deagle. I'm working with Arliss Sky and Six Nations Social Services on the early childhood education projects.
And then we have Arliss this morning. Do you need to introduce yourself, Arliss? Does everybody know
Sure,
Arliss?
sure. I will, because we're live streaming. I'm the Director of Social Services, and we're working with the schools on this pilot project for outdoor learning.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So this is our team this morning. Robin Stotts was going to attend with us to help with the presentation, but she had to send her regrets. So if someone can help me or allow me to share my screen, I do have a PowerPoint this morning.
I can, it's in the Dropbox, Deneen. All the counselors can see it in there, but
Okay. Okay, so if I try and, okay, I might be able to.
You can share screen, or Becky, you
Yeah.
can share your screen. So
Yeah.
either one, and it's up on the screen. So thanks, Denise.
Yeah, can you see it?
Yep, I can see the SNEC presentation.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so basically what we're presenting today is, I guess, a continuation of what we presented fall. We've expanded a bit to include cultural wellness programs. And this morning, we're going to be talking specifically about a partnership between the federal schools and Six Nations Social Services. Okay, how come it's not letting me move ahead on my, oh, there we go, okay. So you may recall back in the fall when a number of administrators from each of the schools were present and presented you with a proposal for outdoor learning that we had been working on as a group, as a district. And one of the core parts of that proposal was really our response to COVID. As well, you know, we've always had outdoor learning. That has always been there for everyone. In all the schools and classrooms, and teachers have utilized outdoor learning. But we are, I guess, growing that specifically in response to COVID-19. And at the time, the focus was on outdoor learning spaces and the creation of spaces and programming at each of the schools. And really reaching back and concentrating on that stewardship, teaching our children stewardship, their connection to the land, the values, bringing in our knowledge keepers, and basically meeting the curriculum, both our community curriculums and our Ontario curriculum, as it tied to the land and the importance of the land. So since that time, we have been following along with COVID. And in October as well, the Chiefs of Ontario created a land-based learning guide. And I took a quote from there that really, I guess, emphasizes the importance of outdoor learning. And by moving that classroom outdoors, we're better able to ensure physical distancing among our students and staff, as well as maintaining that constant fresh air circulation, or just having the ability to be outside in the fresh air. As well, the benefits of the outdoor learning included opportunities for families and youth to solidify their learning and understanding and knowing of the environment. And based on research around outdoor learning and land-based learning, there's a number of things that provides. So I have a list there. And I think that as we were partnering, or as we were discussing the partnership, many of these things were important to the social services programming and to Arliss's mandates within her programming. So she did add a few things to that list. Again, it's in response to the pandemic. And I think we also need to really concentrate on the fact that family routines have been so disrupted in this time, and that there has been a rise in mental health concerns as well as anxiety, fear of the unknown. And by providing these outdoor learning opportunities, either within the school setting, within the daytime during school, there are also going to be opportunities for the use of these spaces and programming before school and after school and on the weekends. So that we feel is very responsive and supportive of our families to help them to get through COVID. So since we last presented to you in the fall, if you recall, partnerships was a big part of that proposal. And our plan was to reach out to services and organizations and businesses in the community to partner with us to be able to either create the spaces or to utilize their services around programming and whatnot. And that was we felt very necessary and crucial that we have these partnerships and develop these partnerships with these services and organizations within the community. We did receive your support, and we have begun to utilize the ISC funds that, if you recall, we did have funds that had been earmarked for this, and we did start to create the outdoor learning spaces. If you recall, we were about $90,000 short with what we had wanted to create at each of the 4 school sites. So our Director of Education reached out to the Director of Child and Family Services Reform and Transformation at ISC. And with that, a local connection was made with Arliss and the Director of Social Services. And Arliss attended the Outdoor Learning Committee meetings and shared her goal for some of her programs that she's been working on. And many of those programs and funding, such as early learning strategies, the before and after school childcare programs, and the CWJI, the Community Wellbeing and Jurisdiction Initiative, aligned with a lot of the goals and I guess recommendations that we had in our proposal in order to develop those areas and uses for our community. And through that partnership and through a lot of discussion at our weekly meetings, we could see the connection, and so the partnership was formed. So we're coming to you this morning to sort of explain the partnership and also explain and present to you what the funding or the pots of money that are available through both ISC and social services. We feel together we would be able to reach a lot of the goals that we've set out for ourselves in this outdoor learning project and community wellness project. So yeah.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were wrapping up there, Denise.
No, still have a few more.
Okay.
So with the funding sources, we actually divided the initial proposal into 2 phases. So it has been rewritten. It's had some changes made, and I did forward that this morning to Becky McComber. So she does have a copy of the newest proposal outlining the partnership. So if she would like to email that, or if you have any additional questions or would like to read it, she does have it. So the first phase of that we continue to implement was the outdoor learning spaces and programmings. And, you know, just point form, these are the goals of those outdoor learning spaces and programmings. Phase 2 are portables or modules, some type of building that would be put onto the school properties to house the before and after school child programs at each location. We would be able to share the spaces, so the schools would be able to utilize those spaces during the day. Once we're all back and it's COVID safe, of course. And then social services would be able to use those or utilize those spaces before and after school and on the weekends, I believe. As well, this would provide possible additional space for other programs that come into the school and work with the students, our social workers, our speech and language and OTs. We would be able to utilize that space, which we never have enough of when we have those services coming in to work one-on-one with our students. And then lastly, it would help to house the programming around language and cultural teachings and allow us to really tap into some of the activities that students don't always get at school now. So, you know, having that ability to maybe cook or, you know, create things from harvest, things like that, that we're hoping to be able to utilize those portables for. And then just at the bottom, I've just listed some of the areas of funding and how where funding would be coming from.
Okay.
And I'm going to turn it over to Matt now. He's, if you recall, now this phase 1 budget will be different, one that was in the proposal, because we have utilized some of possibly some of the funding that ARLIS has. I'm going to turn it over to Matt now.
Hi. So yeah, so we've based on the recommendations of our committee of different teachers and principals within the Six Nations schools, we decided on creating 3 outdoor spaces. I can let you know that space number 1 has actually already been completed. Each school, and Deneen has a picture later on the slide, it shows one of the completed projects. Each school has an outdoor armor stone space, circular classroom at each of the 4 schools. The intent is to do the second phase or the second project, which is the pavilion, to have that completed in late March to early April, and then a third space, a tiered amphitheater. So I've been tasked with finding quotes, 3 detailed quotes from each of the projects. Some of the projects have had 4 or 5 quotes. I've done my best to try to local Six Nations businesses if possible, but we as a committee, we meet and discuss which is the best project to go with. So we're right now in the process of solidifying those quotes. Also, you see there the outdoor education resource storage. Essentially, those are C-cans. So we're ideally purchasing 1 C-can per property, which is the intended use of half the space used with us, schools, and the other half used with social services. So the intent of all of these spaces is for co-use between social services during their time and with the schools during our time.
Thanks, Matt. So I do have a picture here, outdoor learning areas that are completed to date. This one here is at Oliver M. Smith. Is that correct, Matt?
Yes, that's correct. And also just briefly to add to that as well, as far as the maintenance piece, the intent of each of these 3 structures is they'll sort of be like the playgrounds. You won't have daily maintenance. There won't need to be salt or snow removed or anything like that. You can see the base floor there, mulch. There'd be 1 time a year where the mulch need to be replaced, refreshed on each of the different structures. So there's not a daily maintenance cost needed or associated with these projects.
Thanks, Matt. So each of these schools has something very similar. Placement, of course, is different depending on the playground or the school or the land that's there. But each of the 4 school areas does have one of these now. And then our outdoor learning plan or outdoor learning areas that are in the planning stages that Matt just referred to, again, just to refresh your memory, are these 2 spaces here. And just to elaborate on the portables, so again, right now we have some before and after school care programming available. The only school that currently has the programming on site is Oliver M. Smith School. All the other students at each of the other schools require busing to Stone Ridge in order to access the after school program. So basically the portables would allow for the students to remain at the school and possibly even in their cohorts. This is going to help to alleviate any cross-contamination at this point as well. So the cost to be determined for phase 2, the portables, is of course the infrastructure, so the actual building itself, the installation, hydro, all of those things, operation and maintenance. So if students are using it throughout the day, we would need some type of custodial position for that. And we would look at operation maintenance for up to 5 years. This isn't working. And then, of course, the cost for programming and methods of delivery is important as well, which would include supplies to facilitate lessons, the knowledge keeper honorariums, and extra clothing for students, nutrition, things like that. And then I guess lastly, what we're asking for today, what we come to you with is really a request. The current resolution that you passed on the 27th of October, these are the 3 points that are basically listed there. And what we're asking for today is either a new amendment or new resolution or amendment resolution that would support financial partnership between the schools and social services. So again, that all of our needs are being able to be met at this point. And I know Arliss and Dave are on for questions as well. So I'm just going to open the floor now for questions if you have any.
Thanks, Deneen. And so I'm going to get back to the big screen here.
Stop share.
Thank you for segueing us into and bringing up last year's motion. So I'm going to open it up to questions. I see Councillor Paulus-Bomberry, Councillor Johnson. Go ahead, Audrey.
First of all, I support it and I'd like to make that motion, but the question is, do you have a motion that you have already created that would capture what you and Arliss are proposing?
Yes, Audrey, the motion is motion item number 5,
Okay,
A and B.
we've already,
So those already went to Human Services,
Yes.
yeah, I think we've already moved on those.
correct? Yourself and Melba both have motion. Okay. Do I have a seconder to that motion?
Excuse me,
Oh,
Michelle.
Mel moved it.
Do you need that read to
Yes,
the community?
yes.
I'll move then on 5A. Moved by myself, Melba Thomas, that the Human Services Committee recommends to the Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council that the amount of $35,175.96 be post-approved and paid to Earthscape Play Inc. for project number 1, outdoor classroom from the Child Wellbeing and Jurisdiction Funding. I so move.
I second it, Audrey.
And questions. Counselor Wendy Johnson, you had a question?
Yeah, I did. Thanks for the presentation, and I certainly supported. I was the mover on the motion the last time. I guess just in terms of the motions here, I would think we would have to go back and accept the entire project because we accepted it in principle. So there may be a preemptive resolution that we have to make in addition to these. But I guess overall, I mean, I certainly support everything that's being done. I do have an issue with a couple of things. One, on the funding side. So is this, if I understood you correctly, Deneen, this is new money that's coming through? We're not moving money within social services to do this work? That's one thing that I want confirmation on, because the last motion was new money, not coming from existing. The other piece of it is portables. I have such an issue with portables. This community has fought for so long to get away from the whole portable piece of it because schools we know are at capacity. Schools need more space, and going to portables to fill that, especially for a program like this, I think we should be doing it right. This is a huge program. It's a needed program. And building a facility, you've got the pavilion, you've got the other pieces that actually complements what you're doing much better. I would like to see that and see the budget for it rather than going to the whole portable scenario, because I think it sends the wrong message of what we're trying to do and how we're trying to grow in the community. And just, I've seen other projects where students are actually a part of the build of structures. If that could be incorporated somehow, some way. But, I leave that to you because you're the experts, but just if there was a way not to use portables, to actually build something that's needed at the schools to have that space. So those are the questions that I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Wendy. And so I see Arliss, do you have a response?
I do. Thanks, Wendy. And those are exactly the questions that we've also in our committee had discussions with. The reason why we're going with the portable for one of initially is funding. For one is that we've got available funding to utilize for the COVID response, and that will be included in our plan. That's why we've got Dave on board as well, and we're connecting with the Lifelong Learning Task Force as well, and in their plans and projects for the before and after school program, and continued with the community well-being and culture and language supports in the school. So this is somewhat a quick short-term availability to demonstrate the need and to utilize the funding that we are going to be receiving for the emergency COVID response for the that will enable us to start with the before and after school programs.
Okay, thank you, Arliss. And I see Wendy. You have a follow-up?
Just a subsequent. So this is, we're shifting COVID funding for this project. That's what I hear you saying, Arliss. This is not new money that is contributing to this particular project. And I understand where you're coming from for portables, for time's sake, for quickness. But what's happened in this community in the past is that when we do that, we get locked into that for a very long time, and it's hard to come out of that. And I just wouldn't want to see this project stuck in portables for that purpose when we should be shooting for so much more.
I think all portables have come a long way since what our historical experience has been with portables. But it is new funding because it is COVID funding. And even with the Isc funding, it is new funding that we can earmark to ensure that our communities are safe. Because that was one of the biggest discussions that we had about being able to utilize this funding. It's also precedent setting. It gives us opportunity for us to go and retrieve more additional funding for ongoing projects between social services and the schools moving forward.
Okay. Do I have any other comments, questions for the team? So hearing none, I just want to wrap up. I know we have a school in our community that is actually using yurts to do their education. So I think, and I would hope that the federal schools are working together, and Arliss, you're actually, you know, are reaching to all our schools in the community, not just the federal schools, so that we're, you know, being fair to everybody and providing these opportunities to all our children and their families. So with that, we have a motion on the table, moved by Melba, seconded by Audrey. All in favor?
Favor.
Does anybody oppose? Hearing none, motion is carried. So that is 5A. We'll move right along to 5B.
Moved by myself, Melba Thomas, that the Human Services Committee recommends to the Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council that up to $214,824.04 be allotted from the Child Wellbeing and Jurisdiction Initiative 2021 to be used for the 2 remaining outdoor learning projects and storage containers at each of the 5 federally funded schools as a partnership between the schools and social services, with the understanding the spaces can be used for the before and after school programs in development. I so move.
I second it. Audrey.
Do I have questions in regards to motion number 5B? Go ahead, Councillor Johnson.
So just going back to my earlier comment, do we have to approve the presentation? And do we have to approve the partnership? Or can the original motion that accepts this in principle stand? And does that give the authority for the partnership? Otherwise, there's no mandate on the social service side.
So was this discussed at Human Services? Darren, can you shine light on this?
Specific question. It was approved in principle. So I guess it defaults a little bit back to requirements for the funding, but I would suggest that that's probably a good idea to approve the project as opposed to just in principle and inclusive of the partnership described in the proposal.
Thank you. So then we need to, who wants to make that motion?
I'll make it. It's Audrey.
Okay, can you read out your motion, Audrey?
That's why I was asking if they already had it written for Arliss and Deneen and what they're looking for.
Not specifically for a partnership for this project, but I don't know whether we have one in the past, but we do have, I guess, for other, I might even know whether by resolution though, that our partnerships with the schools to support partnerships and collaborations when we have the opportunity to do so.
So Audrey, what I'm hearing is we support this initiative and we support it in its entirety. Wendy, is that what you're looking for? Go ahead.
If I can make a suggestion for the motion, that the Six Nations Elected Council approve or accept the proposal as presented by the federally funded schools, and further approves the partnership between social services and the schools.
Melba and Audrey, Wendy, are you motioning that, or Audrey, are you going to motion that?
That's fine. The wording is good, but next time I would have hoped that Arliss and whoever they come in with, Deneen, would have their motion already prepared for us at the beginning. But yes, I'll move out.
And do I have a seconder?
I'll second it, Melba.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Does anybody oppose? Motion is carried. Okay. So with that, we are good to move forward. So
Now, for
Yeah.
allowing us to come and present this morning. Thank you.
thank you, Deneen, and your team. Okay, take care. All the best. Okay, council, we'll move
Question,
along.
Michelle?
Go ahead, Helen.
We approved the project from, we took it out of approved principle and we approved it, right?
Correct.
Don't we have to approve this motion with this $214,000 as well? Because this is a different motion. We only approved the project. We didn't approve the money.
Okay, let's go back to 5 now, which will be 5C, which Melba already read, Audrey already second. So all in favor?
Favor.
Does anybody oppose? Motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, team, Deneen, you're all good? Arliss, you have a question?
I do. Can we have second reading waived, or do we do that at different time on all 3 of our motions?
Do we wait? Yeah. Once it comes to council, then it's moving forward. So we've stopped doing the second waiving of second reading at your committee level. It comes to full council and it goes into effect. Okay. So you're good.
Okay, as long as we're good.
Audrey?
Yeah, this already went to Human Services.
Yes.
So that was committee, so shouldn't it be waive second reading at this one now? Because it's full
Yeah.
council.
That's right, Audrey.
So I waive second reading for all of them, too.
5A, B, and C.
Please.
And I'll second it. Melba.
Moved by Audrey, second by Melba. Second reading is waived. All righty. The logistics are done. We're good. Now, Deneen, your team is good. So thank you very much. Okay, take care. Let's move along, council, to recommendation number 2.
Moved by myself, Melba Thomas, that the Human Services Committee recommends to the Six Nations General of the Grand River elected council to accept the funding for the Indigenous-led early on program in the amount of $364,898 from the Corporation of the City of Brantford for the calendar year ending December 2021. I so move.
I second it with the correction of removing general out of there. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do I have any questions in regards to recommendation 2? Go ahead, Wendy.
So my question isn't just for this motion, but it's for all of the motions in finance. And it's the same question I have every time we pass money is, where are the budgets for this? It would be really helpful if when we're accepting money or moving money that we could see where these departments or where the services are at. You know, some of them, there's large sums of money coming through, and where are we sitting with surplus funding, all of those things, or if it's just a delay in accepting the funding, just having that mapped out in a budget so that we can see it and we know exactly what we're approving.
Question?
Thanks, Wendy. And that is something I know you've asked for since day one. And so I'm sure with Anna Cecile on board, we'll be able to get that information to full council. Councillor Miller?
Yeah, I agree with Wendy because of the fact that over the past 3 or 4 years, we've sent so much money back at the end of the year because we couldn't spend it. So I think in terms of having a budget, we should also have some kind of a work plan as to how they're going to spend this money, so that we know it's going to get spent, and at the end of the year, half of it's not going to get sent back because we couldn't spend it.
Thanks, Helen. Arliss?
Yeah, the budget was included in the full package that was sent. And it's quite a bit of a thick document, so that might be why, but it's probably in the Dropbox someplace. But it does have the detail of the staffing and the new amounts for the rental that we've had to engage with to move out of the schools. So we have better opportunity of expanding the funding, but with COVID, we're not being able to do a lot of the programming in person, but we are doing our best to do virtual and support that way. And this, you notice, is a calendar year funding. So this one is January to December funding. So there is that budget. It is included in the original package that I sent over.
Okay. Thank you, Arliss. Go ahead, Wendy.
So yeah, that's not what I'm talking about. I mean, that's great. I think it ties into what Helen is saying about having the plan so that it actually shows where the money's going. And I don't think we need a 30-page document. It's a small chart. But what I'm talking about is having an understanding of, if your budget is $5 million, Arliss, and it's January 18th and you're at 20% spent and we're accepting a large amount of money, then what that looks like for the end of the fiscal or whatever the year is that the monies are coming in and out with. So what does that scenario look like, so that we know if we're accepting $364,000, there's a likelihood that 2 million of the 5's going back at the end of March. That's what I want to know as we accept all of this new money. Because if we're accepting it and we can't spend it, then what's the plan? Because we should not be sending any money back whatsoever in any of our departments.
Good point. And this also would be good planning. I know we have another daycare that we continue to have discussions about, but still they too need funds. So if we send early years funding back, then I think it's just poor planning all around. So with that, council, hearing
Michelle, it's Hazel.
Hold on, Hazel. Hearing the comments, what do we want to do? Do we want to defer recommendation 2 and 3 because 3 is the same? Or move on them and knowing moving forward, we will receive the work plan along with the budget at each subsequent finance meeting? Audrey? Audrey, you're on mute.
I think we accept it and that we move forward with that suggestion, because we're getting close to the end of the fiscal year. We have to keep moving. Thank you.
With respects to the recommendation 2, it's for this calendar year, and the next one was to be expended last year. Hazel, you have a comment?
Yes, I do. With the financial, like the monies that are, the recommendations here, I always think that with the SAO and the Director of Finance, that those two will also authorize with the department director that they know about this and that they see the need to have it all expended before the end of the fiscal year. I think that's kind of their job to direct the director whether they should go forward with it or not. That's my thoughts anyway. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Johnson. And I have 2 more comments. Go ahead, Wendy, then we'll move to Councillor Miller. And actually, we're hearing some hammering or something in the background. So if you're not speaking, can you put yourself on mute, please?
So, and I agree with Hazel. I mean, that's where I'm coming from as well. So I would expect, I know there's some newness here, but I would expect from the Director of Finance to let us know or give us security that, we're within spending, we're on target, there's not an issue. Just looking for that reassurance so that we're making good governance decisions around the funding. So that come the end of March, we're not getting 4 pages of deferrals or surplus or sending back and all of that. So we push this money through and we stamp it. We need to have some sort of checks and balances and assurance that this is okay and that it's approved, because, you know, if issues come up, then that's where we take it back to in a couple of months.
Thank you so much for your comments. Yes, it's definitely, you know, like one of the objectives of the finance department. We're working towards it. There comes, you know, down the road a presentation regarding the new structure that we're putting in order to do that. The final goal, as I was mentioning to Darren and the chief, it's to be able, you know, by mid-year to have a wish list of all the directors of how they want to spend the money, and with any deferrals and any last minute year-end money from the government that always arrives between February and March, to be able to allocate those resources to maximize them. So we're working towards that objective.
Thank you, Anna Cecile. So I have Councillor Miller, then I have Councillor Audrey Pellis-Mumbury. Helen, you're on mute.
I just wanted to say that I don't support deferring this. We're too close to the end of the year to be deferring anything.
Just remember, this is new money to be expended December 2021. But I completely hear what you're saying, Helen. Audrey?
Yeah, Anna Cecile just answered my question there, but I also like to see if it's possible to have Darren, that part put as part of our financial meeting, whether it's at the end or as we go through, but to have that included as like a standing item on our finance meetings. Thank you.
Okay, I have Darren, then I have Wendy.
Yeah, and we've discussed this over the last few actually months, and for the benefit of community or anyone who's listening, I think it's important that everyone realizes that we've had some issues in the finance department, and we were in the process of starting to do some cleanup, but we also have an audit that's extremely overdue. So at the same time, we're trying to address all these concurrently. I have a lot more confidence now. We have Anna Cecile on as our CFO, and we're doing a bit of restructuring in finance as well to bring in, and we're actually going to have a net savings in finance department as a result of the restructuring, by the way, which is just a restructuring of functions within the department so that we can provide more, I will say, information that is useful. And for me, as a SAO, I need to know the financial position that we're in at all times. And it's been difficult to get that information from a reporting perspective. So for me, it's an accrual and a cash position, always understanding what can be deferred and what has, we don't want to be in that position. There will always be a little bit of that where we will have to send some back, but I agree 100% we should not be doing that. So part of it is understanding those agreements better. We got a good inventory of the agreements now, all the T's and C's. So I think we're on the right path. I'm much more, I don't have the answers for everyone. I'm sort of frustrated as well with everyone in the same position, but we're on the right path to get it right. So thanks for that.
Thanks, Darren.
Thanks, Darren. That's reassuring. Go ahead, Councillor Johnson.
Yeah, and I'm certainly happy to hear that. And I know you've been working, diligently in that direction, Darren. We're happy to have you on board, and certainly Anne as well. But I mean, it's a key frustration with me because of how large we are and what we do. The finances are pivotal to everything that we do. And over a year being with this, elected council, and we have yet to get good financial statements and reports coming through. It's just has to be a revolving door with passing motions on money, and we don't know where or what's happening with it. We don't know what those financial forecasts and pictures are. So, I certainly, whatever your plan is, I would certainly be willing to make a motion or pass a motion so that if it's hiring more people to help the staff that we have, to whatever there has to be done, but we have to get our finances in order once and for all.
Just a response, if I may. I think for me, the simple answer is, we want to understand how a decision impacts our plan. It doesn't matter what department it is, but how does that roll up for the whole nation? So that is the work that's underway with SAT as well at the same time. And I think too, there is a presentation later on in finance where, you know, because we're looking at some restructuring, there are some sensitivities. So it will be presented in camera, but we will share it out of camera once we've made those decisions. But there are changes, there are recommendations for new hires. But really the net result is a savings, which is an important piece to everyone to take away. But really it is like, okay, how does this decision plug into our plan? Does it fit into the plan? And if once it's plugged in, does it bump something around? You know, I mean, that's basically the kind of answers that we're looking for and we need to have to make a good informed decisions. So I take the point, and I'm of the same mindset. We're getting late in the year. So we got to get this stuff in place, and then the plan is evolving as we go at the same time. It's a tough job, but we're doing it.
Thank you, Darren. So we have on the floor motion by Melba, second by Audrey. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Anybody opposed? Motion is carried.
I'll waive second reading, Melba.
Okay. Moved by Melba, second by Audrey. All in favor?
Favor.
Does anybody oppose? Hearing none, motion is carried. Recommendation number 3.
I move that the Human Services Committee recommends to the Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council to authorize any two signing authorities sign the service agreement with the Corporation of the City of Brantford in the amount of $117,143.37 and up to $20,326 for the Indigenous-led child care program and the wage enhancements requirements for the calendar year ending December 2020. This includes funding for may change. This schedule for funding may change based on actual costs. I move.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, ladies. Is there any questions? Councillor Miller?
No, I just wondered, this is up to, for the calendar year, December 2020. Does that mean, what does that mean?
Go ahead, Arliss.
This is a new program we had with the city of Brantford for the Clarence Street childcare program, and we didn't have a service agreement with them. We were almost ready to the stage of getting that ready, and then COVID hit. We had one for the year before, so this is just getting the agreement on how much we expended for the year ending December 2020. And when I say the schedules may change, the way that they do their agreements is specific to the body and the content of the agreement, and then the schedules have the dollars amount. So I'm not sure whether that makes it more flexible. I guess it prevents them from having to go through all of their stages as well to get approvals for these contracts. That's all. And then as we tally the final expenses for December 2020, that's what I'm saying, that schedule may change with a dollar amount, but that's how much they're citing that we would be eligible for based on our expenses.
So it's getting extended? Is that what you're saying?
And it's not getting extended. We'll eventually get a new agreement for the childcare for the calendar year.
So is this money already spent?
Yes, this money's already been expended.
So it's like a post-approval thing? Like,
Yes.
I'm lost.
Yeah, I guess so.
It is. And so we don't see that. So committee, the mover, the seconder, I think that would have been part of the discussion, I'm hoping, at committee level. Audrey, you moved?
Yes.
So it is a post approval.
So it should say that, then it should say post-approval if that's what we're doing.
Yeah,
So
we can add that in.
So it's more easily understood.
Thanks, Helen.
Councillor Johnson?
Yeah, just for this motion and for all the other subsequent motions, can we just align the wording with policy? So some of them are different with authorizing any two signing authorities to sign. Can we just say that, authorizing signature per our finance policy and then go through just to be consistent and to clean it up a bit? And I agree with Helen, if this is a post approval, then it has to say that. And I guess with that, how soon is everyone getting training on writing motions so that we don't run into this constantly?
Good point. And I do believe that is on the action item list. So Darren, I know he has 101 things that's on that list. And I know I'm anticipating the new fiscal, we're ready to roll.
So just a response. Yeah, we want to change the whole structure of the motions where we talk about whereases and then therefores. I think we've started to introduce that through some of our task force motions. So I think that's kind of will help to clarify, whereas, which is this is how it led to the decision, and then therefore here's the decision. So yeah, and the other point too, as well as aligning with policy. So thanks. That is a work in progress as well.
Thank you. So we have recommendation 3.
It's Melba. If I could suggest that post approval be after year ending December 2020 post approval.
Becky, and I believe there's a standard to that, but you hear that both Melba and Audrey have agreed to including the revision.
Yep, I got it.
Okay. So we will now go to a vote. All in favor with the revised recommendation of the post approval? Do I hear anybody that objects? Hearing none, motion is carried.
Waive second reading.
Moved by Audrey. Melba?
Second Melba.
Does anybody oppose? Hearing none, motion is carried. Okay. I just received information. Councillor Johnson has left our meeting. She had to attend to a family matter. Okay, let's move along to recommendation number 4.
Moved by myself, Melba Thomas, that the Human Services Committee recommends to the Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council to accept the $204,800 project funding from the Ministry of Health for emergency Indigenous youth life promotion and children's mental health programs, and the agreement be signed by any two authorized Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council authorities. I so move.
I second it, Audrey.
Any questions?
Michelle? It's Sherry Lynn.
Okay, I have Councillor Miller, then I have Councillor Hill Pierce.
No, I guess my question about this motion is there's no years, there's no nothing. Is this for this year or is it for next year or? There's nothing.
Sorry, yes, it's for this year, for this year ending March 31st.
This has to be spent by March 31st, or is it already spent?
It's in the progress. It's in the process of being expended.
Is it going to be expended? The whole 200,000?
We've got our budget work plan, and it does. We're probably about $10,000 to $12,000 short of what we may expend it on, but we're still working with the ministry on what's eligible, and if we can determine what we need to move forward into April, after April, if we have our plan in place, then most times they'll approve it.
Okay, so we need to put some kind of a date in here or something.
Yes, correct. I missed the date on there.
Okay. Sherry Lynn?
I just declare conflict in that one. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
What
Okay.
date do you need there, Arliss? It's Melba.
March 31st, 2021. For the period ending, March 31st, 2021 from the Emergency Indigenous Youth Life, or for the Emergency Indigenous Youth Life Promotion and Children's Mental Health Programs.
Okay,
Okay, if we could add that, moved by myself, Melba.
and Audrey, you agree? Perfect. Thanks, Audrey. I know you're on mute, but I see your hand go up. All in favor? Does anybody-
Michelle,
Go ahead, Carrie.
would we, like with one counselor leaving the meeting and another one declaring conflict, would we still be able to vote on it? I mean, is it still a quorum?
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then there's 1, 2, 3. There's 6 people. Yes, yeah, Darren's giving me the thumbs up. So we do have quorum still. Thank you, Carrie. So all in favor? Does anybody oppose? Motion is carried. Okay, let's move
Waive
right
second
on.
reading.
Yep, go ahead, Melba.
Second.
I waive second
All
reading.
in favor? Any opposition?
Conflict, that's all.
Yep, thanks, Sherry Lynn. That's been documented. Motion is carried. Moving along to recommendation number 5.
I move that the Human Services Committee recommends that the Six Nations of the Grand River elected council to accept $550,678 for the Family Wellbeing Program for 2020-2021. That'll bring the annualized budget to $823,407, and the one-time funding in the amount of $10,738 for 2020 and 2021 from the Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services for urgent community needs, and the agreement to be signed by any 2 authorized Six Nations, the Grand River Council's authorities.
I second the motion, Melba.
Any questions? Hearing none. All in favor? Anybody opposed? Motion is carried.
Waive second reading.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Melba too?
Second.
Okay. Helen, can you put yourself on mute?
Oh,
We heard that.
I just got a very alarming email.
Okay. So all in favor, waiving second reading. Anybody opposed? Motion is carried. Go ahead, Melba, for recommendation 6.
Okay, moved by myself, Melba Thomas, that the Human Services Committee recommends to the Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council to accept the emergency COVID-19 response funding from the Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services under the Family Wellbeing Program for $112,610 for the responding to COVID-19 for 2021 year for urgent community needs, and the agreement be signed by any 2 authorized Six Nations of the Grand River elected council authorities. I so move.
I second it, Audrey.
Any questions? Hearing none, we'll go to a vote. All in favor? Anybody opposed? Motion is carried. Audrey, waiving second reading.
Waive second reading.
You and Melba, you still second?
Yes.
All in favor? Second reading is waived. Okay, let's carry on to recommendation number 8.
I move that the Six Nations Human Services Committee recommends that the Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council to approve the senior administration officer and/or the elected chief to sign via email the contribution agreement and accept the funding in the amount of $1,309,501 for COVID-19 related expenses for the Six Nations Health Services from Indigenous Services Canada.
Second the motion, Melba.
Okay, open for discussion. Hearing nothing, all in favor? Anybody opposed? Recommendation 8 is moved. Go ahead, Audrey, to waive second reading.
Reading.
And Melba, you second that?
Yes.
Okay, I see Arliss has her hand up. Arliss?
I believe number 7 was missed.
That's correct.
From
I was
social.
just going to mention it.
Oh, I apologize. Okay, so we're on recommendation 8, waiving second reading. All in favor? Motion is carried. Let's jump back to recommendation number 7. Go ahead, Audrey.
I move that the Human Services Committee recommends that the Six Nations of the Grand River elected council to accept the prevention-focused customary care funding from the Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services in the amount of $451,704.11 for the period ending March 30th, 2020.
I second the motion, Melba.
Any questions from council? Hearing none. All in favor? Does anybody oppose? Hearing no objections, motion is carried.
Waive second reading.
Go ahead.
Second, Melba.
All in favor? Anybody opposed? Motion, second reading is waived. Okay, now we're gonna go to recommendation number 9. Melba?
Moved by myself, Melba Thomas, that the Six Nations Human Services Committee recommend to the Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council to accept the additional funding from Local Health Integration Network of emergency of $80,000 for 2021, and then be annualized base funding in the amount of $200,000 starting 2021 from the Hamilton, Niagara, Haldeman Grant to support the enhancement of mental health and addictions mobile crisis service delivery. I so move.
Second, Audrey.
Any questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Councilor Miller.
I have my usual question. Is this money going to be spent by March 31st? Because it does say $80,000 for 2020 and 2021. So
Okay.
that means it's not spent yet. Like,
Thank you, Helen. And so we have the Director of Health, Lori's on the line. Over to you, Lori.
Hi. So we did submit a budget that was prorated for this 2020, 2021, and that was the 80,000. There were some startup dollars in that, so we'll take a closer look at it. We also have the option of reviewing that and letting them know to not send the whole amount. So we'll do that. But your approval will allow us up to the 80,000.
Thanks, Lori. Is there any further questions in regards to recommendation number 9? Hearing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor? Anybody oppose? Motion is carried. Second, waiving second reading, Melba?
Yes.
Second, Audrey.
All in favor? Anybody oppose? Hearing none, motion is carried. B.
Moved by myself, Melba Thomas, that the Six Nations Human Services Committee recommend to the Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council to approve the Senior Administrative Officer and elected chief to sign the amendment of the Multi-Sector Service Accountability Agreement letter. I so move.
Audrey.
Helen, you have a question?
yeah, like, why are we approving this? Like, isn't that what we hired the SAO for? And that's why we have an elected chief to do this kind of work. Why do we have to approve they sign a goddamn letter? I'm getting confused by some of these because I don't know.
Thanks, Helen. And so, Lori, I think you have a comment.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's confusing because every meeting it seems to change what the expectation is in terms of what needs to be written in the motion. So I agree. I mean, at one point we were making motions that the Director of Health would have authority based on the motion. I think that's where we sort of got it stuck in that pattern. So, you know, as soon as we have some clarity Do we just make the assumption that council's approval means that the SAO and the chief have that authority? You know, I'm happy to adjust once we have some firm direction.
Yeah, we need to clear it up because it seems like we're getting different kind of motions from what we used to have before.
Darren?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Lori, what Lori's saying. We've had some mixed expectations coming from council on what is to be in the motion. We were requested to put in 2 assigning authorities. So you'll see that from a lot of Arliss's motions without naming people or positions, authorized assigning authorities. So this is all part of the finance work that's underway, and we're also looking at a lot of this stuff won't be coming to the table. That's the other thing. You won't even necessarily see some of this because it's captured in policy anyways. So thanks for the question, Helen.
Good, great to hear. Okay, so we have, sorry, Becky, was that moved?
Michelle?
Oh, no, it was a question.
It's not voted on.
Okay, I have Councillor Melba Thomas, go ahead.
Yes, I will waive on B.
Okay, wait, we haven't even moved the first. So moved by Melba, second by Audrey, all in favor? Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion is carried. Now Melba, yeah, you can waive second reading. And then Audrey's second that, all in favor? Here, anybody object? Hearing none, motion is carried. And actually moving forward, I will just say, ask if anybody objects. Okay, let's move along to recommendation 10.
Moved by myself, Melba Thomas, that the Six Nations Human Services Committee recommend to the Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council to accept the funds in the amount of $110,000 for the Indigenous Transition Facilitator to be added to the existing Home and Community Care Contribution Agreement under Q22 HCC service delivery for the fiscal 2021.
I second it.
Questions? Okay. Does anybody oppose to recommendation 10? Hearing none, motion is carried. Waiving second reading, Melba?
Yes.
Second.
Does anybody object? Hearing none, the waiving of second reading is complete. And the last one from Human Services, recommendation 11.
I move that the Human Services Committee recommends to the Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council to accept as information the bulletin to residents of long-term care homes regarding the suspension of accommodations rate increases for 2020-2021 program cycle, July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. I so moved.
Second the motion, Melba.
Any questions? Is anybody opposed to recommendation number 11? Hearing none, motion is carried.
Waive second reading, Audrey.
Second, Melba.
Alrighty, all in favor? Motion is carried. Alrighty, we'll move right along into building and infrastructure. The recommendations there.
I move that the Building and Infrastructure Committee recommends to the Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council to approve to pay Econ Six Nations Joint Venture Payment Certificate number 7 dated October 2020 in the amount of $1,659,043.49. Source of the funds identified as Indigenous Services Canada.
I second.
Is there any questions in regards to the first recommendation?
To have one question, Michelle.
Go ahead.
So is this in relation to water lines? We're paying for that work, or I'm not sure what.
Go ahead.
Certificate number 7 is. What's certificate number 7?
So we have Mike Ventura on the line. He's going to explain for you, Helen.
Morning, Council, Chief, and community. So No, it has nothing to do with the water line. 86N actually got the contract to do the transfer station. So this is a payment as per the contract. We've already gotten them the funding over from ISC. So this is just about transferring it and paying as per the contract for work completed.
Okay, so we have recommendation 1 on the floor. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Anybody oppose? Okay, motion is carried. Waiting second. Hazel?
Yeah, second.
Okay, all in favor? Anybody object? Hearing none, motion is carried. Go ahead, Hazel.
Michelle, the noise is coming from my house. So if it happens, I have to just say you'll have to pardon me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's some construction happening.
Okay.
Okay, so I move that the Building and Infrastructure Committee recommends to the Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council to approve payment of Holloman Commercial Maintenance Invoice number 8747 dated January the 12th, 2021 in the amount of $63,658.29 for the supply of sand and salt for winter maintenance. Source of funds identified as the 2020-2021 Six Nations Public Works Operation and Maintenance Budget.
A second, Audrey.
Okay. I don't see any hands. Any questions? All in favor?
Favor.
Does anybody oppose? Hearing none, motion is carried. Okay, that's it.
I move to waive second reading.
Yeah, thanks, Hazel. All in favor?
Favor.
Anybody oppose? Motion is carried. And that wraps it up for building and infrastructure. Thank you, Mike, for being on the line. Take care. Be well. Okay, let's move along, Council, to number 7. Ogwedeni Dow's third quarter financial report. So this was provided to us, and I believe Cindy is still on the line. I don't see her, but I'm hopeful. There you are, Cindy. Oh, sorry, I didn't even realize your picture was of your dog. Okay. Do I have an individual who is willing to move?
I do. It's Melba.
I'll second.
Okay.
That Six Nations Child Welfare Commission recommends to the Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council to accept the Q3 total budget and year-to-date variance report with expenses totaling $6,759,677 as information. I so move.
Second.
Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Does anybody oppose? Motion is carried. Waiving second reading.
I will waive second reading, Melba.
Second, Sherlin.
All in favor? Anybody oppose? Motion is carried. Thank you, Cindy, for being on the line. We'll move right along to the Isc Funding Agreement. So we have, Darren, did you want to speak to this? Actually, first, do we have someone who will move to accept the terms and conditions set out by the amendment 0091?
I will. It's Melba.
I'll second, Sherlin.
Okay. And so, Melba, do you want to read out the motion?
Yes, that the Six Nations Elected Council accept the terms and conditions set out in amendment number 0091 to the 2021 Aboriginal Recipient Funding Arrangement for the Six Nations of the Grand River, and authorize Darren Jameson, Senior Administrative Officer, to enter into the amendment on behalf of Six Nations of the Grand River by way of electronic mail. Amendment includes additional funding for family violence, emergency shelters, in the amount of $95,491.62. Gunu Gushra Shelter.
Okay. Thank you, Melba. Thank you, Sherry Lynn. Any questions? Okay, we'll go to a vote. All in favor? Does anybody oppose? The flow through for Ganokusha is passed. Okay, number 9. Oh no, waive second reading. Sorry, Melba, Sherry Lynn.
Yes, waive,
Yes.
Melba.
Okay, all in favor? Does anybody oppose? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Number 9. So as a formality with Anna Cecile being our new CFO, we need to do the changing of the signing authority. So do I have a counselor who will move this? Moved by Counselor Paulus Bomberry. Do I have a seconder?
I'll move. Sherry Lynn.
I'll second.
Thanks, Sherry Lynn. Audrey, do you want to read the recommendation, please?
That the Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council approves that Anna Cecile Perez, Chief Financial Officer, will be added as a signing authority on all Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council business accounts, and that Trudy Smith will be removed as a signing authority effective immediately. And I'd just like to note that we thank Trudy for all the hard work that she's done. I so move.
I
Thank you,
second.
Audrey. Thanks, Sherry Lynn. All in favor? Oh, sorry. Any questions? Sorry, before I go to a vote. Any questions in regards to this? Okay, all in favor? Does anybody oppose? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Waive second reading, Audrey?
Waive.
Sherry Lynn?
Second. Yes.
In favor? Anybody oppose? Motion is carried. Number 10.
I'll move on this. It's Melba.
Okay,
The Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council accept the Farmers Association report on White Corn Project 2020 as information.
Do I have a seconder?
I'll second, Michelle.
Oh, good. Was that Hazel?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So is there no
unless conflict?
Yeah, so Sherry Lynn, it just makes sense for Sherry Lynn.
Yep. I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Anybody oppose? Hearing none, motion is carried. Waive second reading, Melba?
Yes.
Sherry Lynn?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor? Does anybody oppose? Motion is carried. There were no additions, and so then that concludes our January 18th General Finance meeting. So I need someone to motion to adjourn us into in-camera. Moved by Audrey. Thanks, Audrey. Do I need a seconder for that?
Second, Melba.
I haven't chaired a meeting in months. Thanks, Melba. All in favor? Okay. Alrighty, community. Thanks for being a part of our general finance, and we will see you at next general council meeting, which I think is next Tuesday.
And it's Melba. I want to thank you, Michelle. You always do a very good job of chairing.
Well, thank you, Councilor Thomas. Alrighty, guys, we will prepare to go into in-camera. Take care and be well, everybody.